friends, Aaron here. Just wanted to share quickly some of my new hobby, I guess. So I have done all sorts of woodworking. I have a small renovation business, and I've done everything from complete kitchen and bath renovations to entire exterior renovations, building furniture, and I did a lot of custom art and furniture that I built out of reclaimed salvage stuff. And you can check all that stuff out on my Facebook page, which is just my name, Aaron Stephen Foster. You can just look me up, Stephen with a PH. See the stuff I've done if you're interested. But one thing I had never done was I got into wood carving. I'd like to also do some other stuff like welding. But anyway, talking about woodworking. And since we're renovating the house and working to get out of here as quick as we can, I kind of broke down this area. This is just our garage. It's a 2-car garage. I had it set up as a wood shop. Had my planer out all the time, a table saw, some other things. Had a bunch of materials in here that I was using, reclaimed antique salvage from homes, historic homes and businesses here in the New Orleans area. And I sold or got rid of a lot of that stuff. And it is, for me, like an artistic outlet to do that kind of stuff. And, it's kind of hard for me to go through all of my stuff. I did it in a couple of stages to get rid of a lot of the material that I had. Sold some of it, gave a lot of it away. Kept a handful of things to use for building our homestead in the future. But I do find that I need the sort of artistic outlet. So anyway, I had never before owned any really good carving tools. I would say I still don't. But the first thing I bought was a set that had these. I think just those, yeah. And then it came also with a leather strap, which I don't use because I bought a better strap. And I have a couple of wedding stones that are decent, not amazing. This is a must-have for carving, what I'm going to show you. Spoon carver. But and anyway, these don't stay necessarily the sharpest, but I have the ability to sharpen them. I'm not great at sharpening knives, but I'm getting better and better at it as I practice. And then I got this inexpensive Stanley set here, and there's some really invaluable tools in here. This one has a little bit of a curve to it, so I use that one a lot. This one with a point, and this straight one. These little guys, for certain things I don't use them, but for one of the things I did, I'll show you, those actually came in handy. And then this is actually the one of the carving tools I have. I bought this little set, and then I bought this set. And then I got this guy, this gouging chisel. This is a pretty decent one. But I actually dulled that kind of a lot on something I was just recently working on. But anyway, so the first thing I ever carved, I modeled after this. This is a wooden utensil we've had. We don't like to use plastic stuff, and this thing, somebody almost started it on fire once, and it had been chipped up so bad I have sanded it down to a lot smaller than it was originally. Just getting started with what I had. I actually made this out of a piece of red oak, and it's been holding up totally fine. It was like this was sort of my template to make that, and then I just made it a little bigger. And the kids do a lot of the cooking along with Teresa. I can cook, but I don't. Anyway, this is one of their favorite things to use. And then I had this one. We had this one. Teresa had probably gotten these at like garage sales. And that also has been really beat up. And the kids just use it like to scrape pots and scoop out something for dinner. And I just was kind of playing around a little bit. This handle's pretty straight. I kind of Made a little thumb rest on this one and made it considerably wider. And I used that too. And you know, you're not supposed to use oak for kitchen utensils, but it's actually held up really well. I don't have any problem with it. So these aren't mine, but just showing you. Then the next thing I did was carve a spoon out of this red oak for my mother. And that was modeled after this guy, which has seen its better days. We still use it some. But I made a spoon like that. Mine's bigger. And the handle's narrower up at the neck here. But this one's different than the one I made for my mom because it's made from a piece of white oak. It's lighter. So these are really heavy. The red oak, and then I got this white oak. I think the next thing I did was this. I was just really sort of experimenting. So this spoon I hadn't made yet, but I made one like this. And this is made out of a piece of poplar. I don't know, poplar's not something you're supposed to use either, but I was just kind of, like I said, using what I had. Kids, I keep saying I'm tired. Kids like to use it when they're cooking eggs and frying potatoes in the cast iron pans, and it gets a lot of use. And then I made this guy out of a piece of African mahogany I got from my dad when I was up in New York visiting them. I really like this little spoon. This was also modeled after something we have, not a wooden utensil, but a plastic. Actually, it's a Kool-Aid Man spoon. That was how I got the shape. I'm going to stop saying I really like that spoon. Then I made another one of these. So then this guy. But maybe in between this and this, I did something that I never really anticipated doing, but I just kind of wanted to. I had a nice hunk, a really nice block of African mahogany left. Not what you want to carve a figure out of, I promise you that. But I made this for Teresa. And, you know, it's not perfect by any means, but I had never carved a figure before. Carving it out of this mahogany, this was really a hard wood to work with. Stain. So this is actually the color of the mahogany. It's got polyurethane on it, and then the heart has stain, and then I stain the face. See if this light helps. Mixed up a stain for the face and had a stain for the hair and the heart. So yeah, I carved a person. And then just recently I went hiking with our oldest daughter and scavenged from the forest floor a couple pieces of wood. This is something, I haven't done anything with this yet, but this is a piece of a branch from a cypress tree. And then so I haven't done anything with that yet, but I did do something with this. This is just a rotting cypress log, and I was able to, I didn't bring my hatchet. I should have, because I could have gotten a few more things. But the other half of this, I made something out of, I made into something. And then this was actually, I think, either one of the cypress knees that was on a log that was rotting, or maybe a root. So I'll show you what I made out of this first. This is very light and strong, this cypress, and really big, beautiful old cypress. I have no idea how old the tree was, but it looked like it had been a big one. Out of that, I carved this giant spoon, and I am super happy with it. I didn't even draw on the wood. I just cut it, you know, about the length I needed to make a big spoon. And then used my power saw, to sort of cut some flat edges so I could start carving. And it actually came out pretty straight. And it's got a super deep bowl. It's very strong, light, beautiful. I just put beeswax on them. It's really, we haven't used it yet. I just finished it tonight, sanding it and coating it in wax. It's so pretty. Again, the camera just doesn't do it justice, but this old cypress is so beautiful. The grain on that. So, made that. And then out of this, again, I'm not going to be able to explain it to you, but just showing you on the camera, it is so hard. Like it does not seem like a piece of wood. It is so hard. It was very hard to carve. I dulled my tools and had to sharpen them a couple times. So this is the weather-worn outside, and then of course the inside. And I cut it roughly in half, but this is the smaller half. And out of that, I made this spoon, which is not totally straight. It's not perfectly symmetrical, and I didn't want it to be. So on the back side, I left some of this weather-worn bit. I don't want to carve that all off. And there is a really distinct color difference from the inside to the outside. Very dark here where it was weathered, and then so much lighter inside. And the color inside, wow, I mean, it is really cool. This spoon is so smooth and so hard. It just feels like it'll last forever. So there was some weathering that had kind of left big spaces here. There was 2 big voids, and I filled them in with a resin epoxy. And I had to use just a little bit of resin epoxy up in here too. But, and I don't know if you're interested. I picked this stuff up at Home Depot, and Loctite epoxy. It actually works on a lot of stuff. I use it for a bunch of things. I've made kitchen tables and things, and had out of salvaged wood, and there'd be like nail holes and things, and I would fill it all in with the epoxy before I did my finishing, planing and sanding. And then you still see all the little voids, or even termite holes or nail holes, but it's all perfectly smooth, no place for food to get in it. So this just made a really cool spoon. Now I like these other utensils that I've made. You know, they're useful, and I'll do some more of that because we need things like that. And we still, you know, the 3 that we had still from garage sales or whatever, those are still holding up and they still get some use. But man, I love making these spoons. Something about carving out the bowls, and man, a lot of fun. And I could just get lost in here for way too long and then be super tired the next day because I'm in here doing this. But you know, I don't feel like I want to, as much as these spoons are really nice, they're beautiful. You know, they're just carved out of some wood that came from a mill, but to find pieces of wood lying around on the forest floor and experiment with what you can make out of them, wow, that is just something I really enjoyed. So I just finished these 2 spoons tonight, and with this piece I have here, which would be like this guy, it's really a good size to maybe carve another figure out of. So I think I might get carving on that. I wanted to make another spoon out of this for somebody, carve out of that. So filling up my little box here of kitchen utensils, and we use them all the time. So anyway, oh, and I found a really nice carving stick here, a walking stick. I'm about to carve up that cypress. So anyway, that's what I've been doing for my sort of artistic outlet, and I find it's kind of a real stress reliever, even though I am tempted to spend way too much time on my carving. Got to be careful about that. Anyway, shalom, friends.